Hello, I'm Mark, and welcome to part 7 of my Unreal Engine tutorial on how to build a multi-stage and non-linear questing engine for your Unreal Engine games. So in this video, we'll be creating a framework component that we can use to store the available quests that we might want to give to our player, as well as create the mechanisms that we can then use to feed them into our quest log based on whatever criteria or dependency checks that we need to do on them. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so for this, we're going to go back to our C++ classes. I'm just going to go into our project, go into our public folder, and go into questings, where our components are living. And we're going to go ahead and create a new component. So I'm going to go to New C++ class, and this is just going to be a actor component class. And I'm going to put this as a component. That way you can drop it into any actor that you want to become a quest giver. This is really just a framework management system for just basic quest giving. So if you wanted a kind of like a bulletin board system, I don't have that right now. It's something I'm probably interested in doing a little bit later. But this should cover you for anything from picking up quests from people to picking up quests from terminals or picking up quests from pieces of paper on the ground. So let's go ahead and get this built out. So again, I'm using the actual component, so I'm going to hit next. And then within here, I'm just going to go ahead and call it what it is. And this is going to be my core quest giver component. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the create class. And we'll let Unreal Engine and Visual Studio do their little dance. And hopefully we'll get a good compile. Alright, compiling. Alright, good compile. Alright, so let's go ahead and open this up real quick. So I'm just going to go ahead and say reload all. And I'm going to go into our quest giver component.h file and wait for Visual Studio's IntelliSense to get its act together. Alright, so while I'm waiting for that, we can go ahead and start adding some things in here. So again, this is going to be our core framework. It's not going to have some additional bells and whistles, which I will probably go ahead and do in the next video for a bit more of a type specific. So this is going to be a little bit more of an abstract class, but you can still use it. So a couple of things I'm going to put in here off the bat are going to be, again, some enumerators. If you've been following my videos, I seem to like doing a lot of enumerator work. I just think that it's nice and smart, and as you're kind of building components, if you've got other people on your team who are not C++ heavy, right, and they're more comfortable in blueprints, you know, they can then customize on top of your components, and it's a lot easier for them to kind of work with these little blueprintable enumerators to kind of set those flags. So here we are, we've got two enumerators here. One is the quest giver type. So this is a quest giver, and so within here I'm actually going to have two lists. One is going to be one for non-repeatable quests, and the other one's going to be for repeatable. So for the non-repeatable quests, I'm actually going to have two ways of getting a quest out. One will be sequential and one will be random. Okay, so sequential would be start from the top and work your way down as long as you meet the criteria for that quest. Where random, it's just going to randomly pick from the list. So it's not going to work from top to bottom. It'll randomly pick, and as long as and also it will check the criteria as well, so that it will then give you that quest. So just two different ways. So a sequential quest would be kind of like, you know, your main quest line, right, or your faction quest line, where a random quest would be some kind of like a side quest where you're going to go to someone and they may have 10 quests that they want to give you, but they're going to but you can randomly assign that quest instead of sequentially, so that you don't get the same experience on each playthrough. So you can set it up that way. And then what we have here is the core quest giver state type, and this is really kind of like where, yeah, as it's kind of analyzing the quest log to determine whether we want to give me a quest or not, These are messages that are going to be bubbled back up to the host component. So again, I'm doing this through an enumerator. So this would be new quest. So if it found a new quest and the quest log's happy, it will come back with this. If we're already on a quest and we can only do, and I'm going to set this up so you can only do one quest from one quest giver at a time, through the, as long as it's a, you know, non-repeating quest, right? Then we'll come back and say, hey, you're already on one of the quests in this list. You know, I'm not going to give you another one until you finish this. And then we've got the no more quests. So if it comes back and says, well, I don't have any quests for you at this time. So not necessarily no more quests, but it's certainly saying that either you didn't make the criteria for me to give you a new quest, or we've exhausted all the quests in the quest list. I got nothing for you. So that's kind of where that's going. Maybe a little later I might add a couple more or change these a little bit, but this is kind of where I'm at for the quest giver system right now. All right, so once we have that, we can come down to our component body. We have the constructor here. We don't need to do anything there. Begin play. We really don't need to do much here, but let's go into protected and start creating our basic core structures. So within here, I'm just going to go ahead and add 2 arrays. So in this quest giver framework, I'm actually going to have non-repeating quests and repeating quests, and I'm actually decided to put both in here. This was just a design decision that I had based on some ideas I'm kind of floating around. But non-repeating quests, again, these are usually your faction quests or your main quests, or they could be your side. They could be a side quest, right? That's non-repeating. Where this could be something which is a side quest or a miscellaneous quest where you can go back and get another quest. And this will also be served up randomly, just like the non-repeating quest if the random's on. So this could be somewhere where you could actually have a quest giver that could give you 2 quests. One would be something which was more sequential as part of its a storyline, but these were, you know, where it could also give you these repeating quests as ways to kind of get more, you know, money, gold, credits, as well as being able to get a bit more experience, so kind of help level up your character a bit more. So that's kind of why I've got that. That's kind of where my head is right now, but again, who knows, a year from now this whole could change. Then again, I've got a couple of more properties. So again, I've got my debug message in there. We'll add the function as well. Again, this just helps me make so I can turn debugging on and off while I'm kind of working on the code. Quest giver type, again, this goes back to our enum. So by default, I'm setting this to sequential. So we'll be handing them out in sequential order versus in random. Then I've got some functions. I'm just going to bring them in and we'll just talk about them. So under begin play, so I'm going to put the functions. So these are all of our protected functions. And so these are all functions that are, again, they're protected. Hence they don't have any property, you know, with blueprint read writable. So the first thing we have is our auto accept. So this is going to check the quest to see if it's auto accept. If it's auto accept, it'll just automatically put it into our quest log without, and so this could be useful if you've got something where you've got an autocomplete. So if you move into an area, right, or you talk with someone, you can complete one quest and automatically pick up the next quest. Again, useful in main plot lines, or main quest lines, or faction-based quest lines. We've got our set sequential quest. Set, you know, or get sequential quest, get random quest, and then this is random repeatable, which is coming out of our repeating quests here. Error message and is valid handling. So again, these are some functions, and we'll just have to go fix that when we get into the implementation. And then finally, we're going to come down to the public side. This is kind of where we want our these are all the functions that I want to make accessible within the blueprints, so that we can get, you know, have this system feed our quest, you know, get our quest log and feed it. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this, and all right, I've got this. So as you can see here, I've got this structure here. So let's go ahead and satisfy that real quick. So let's see. I can do that by just going include. I'm going to say, actually I don't need to do that. I just need to go to core quest log row, and yep, that should satisfy that. All right, so I just went ahead and put that struct up there in the includes. All right, so now let's go ahead and fix all these green squigglies and go ahead and do the implementation. So first off, let's go into character. No, let's go over here real quick. So first off, I'm just going to come into the component and I'm going to take a look. So we're not going to do anything on begin play, and we're not going to be using tick. And what I'm going to do here, I'm actually, since I'm in C++, this is a boolean that is not exposed. But what this does is it actually tells us that this component can never, ever, ever tick. So once this flag is set here, if I go into begin play and I say, okay, enable tick component set to true, it will completely ignore that because this flag has been set. So this could be very useful if you're creating components and you want to make sure that this component is set for non-ticking because you want to optimize the component out. Every time a component ticks, it's gonna slightly hurt your performance. So if you know you've got components that are never gonna tick, it's a good idea to just come up here and just set that to false to improve the performance of your code. All right, so we don't care about begin play, and I don't care about ticks, so that can stay there. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of includes here that we're going to need. So the first one is going to be the quest row. And then the second one, actually, this is going to be in questing, isn't it? Questing, quest row, and this is the interface. So do this to questing, and that's the interface. So I'm going to need those. So the interface, again, this system's going to be able to wrap the interaction with the quest log, so we can make this a little bit neater. All right, so now that we've got that taken care of, let's go ahead and back to the component and start fixing these squigglies. So auto accept, I'm just going to hit fix that. And well, yep, we'll just do that. So the auto accept is pretty simple. It's just going to go into the actual quest that we're looking at and seeing, so it's going to take the quest that's being passed in, it's going to check to see if it's has auto accept set, and it's going to return that back. So again, all of our quests are being passed in through row handles. Just makes it, again, it makes it easy to kind of, if you want to partition your quest into different tables, just makes it a little bit easier to manage. And then you've got your isValid handle here. There's your quest. So if we don't have a valid handler for this row handle, then we're going to return false. Otherwise, if we do have a valid handler, then we can go onto the table and check to see if we have a valid row. If we have a valid row, i.e. we've found this quest, we'll check its boolean to see if it's auto accept. If it's auto accept, we return true. Otherwise, if anything else here fails, it will go to false. So that's pretty much how that works. All right, sequential quests. I'm just going to go show quest. So this is us going into our non-repeating quests and pulling out a quest. So I'm just going to go grab all the code and then we can walk you through it. Out result. I'm gonna go. So I'm just gonna go change that to out results, which means I'm just gonna go change this to. I'm gonna call these out results. That way you know that whatever you put in is gonna pop back out. Just makes it a little bit easier to kind of see what's going on in there. So that's out result. So the idea here is we're first going to take the actor. So this is the actor that's interacting with the actor that has the quest giver. So If you have an interaction system, usually you're going to pass the actor in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go onto the actor and we're going to go and see if this actor has this interface. If it has the interface and the interface has a valid quest log on it, right, then we're good to go. And this interface is sitting, let's see if I can pull this up because we're going to need this anyway. It's sitting on the character right here. I call quest giver, and it's also sitting on the controller too, because the actual quest component is actually on the controller, but we've set it up so this interface is on both, so we can access that quest log from either owning the character, as long as the character is being possessed by the player controller, or we can go straight to the player controller. So we can make, so that takes that out. So there it is. Again, it's the pointer. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the output handler. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to actually iterate through our non-repeatable quests. So this is a sequential quest. This is only valid on non-repeating quests. And we're going to go and check the data. And we're going to first check in the quest log to see if this quest that we have has been completed. And when we say completed, it means that it's in the completed and handed in archive, right? So if it's there, then we'll skip over it and go to the next one. If it's not, then we'll check to see if it's actually an active quest. So this is where we'll then go into, is this one of the quests that are currently in our quest log, which is set as active and we haven't completed it? If it is, again, we'll skip over and go to the next one. And if it, I think the way that this is going to work, right, is... Okay, no, we'll just skip over it. And then here, so with this one, actually, no, we do something a little different here. If you want to be able to load up on quests, then you just don't need this piece. So as you can see here, we have on quest. So if this quest giver doesn't want to give out more than one quest, what it can do is, or you could put a counter in here too if you say, okay, you can give out 2 quests, but maybe not 3 or 4 if you've got them available. You could do that, just a little extra logic. This is just going to do 1 quest at a time, so we're going to check the active quest. If it is in the active quest, we're going to say you're already on the quest, so don't bother. I'm not going to give you another one. Otherwise, if it's on the active quest, you could skip over and go to the next one and run a counter if you wanted to do that. But that's not what we're doing here. And then after here, we have meets dependency. So this is where we're actually going to take this quest that so if it's not turned in and it's not active, we're going to check to see if our actor here meets the dependency criteria. And if they do meet the dependency criteria, then we will then say, take the data, put it in the output result and send it back so we can use that quest. Otherwise, what we're going to do, and then we'll also say it's a new quest coming back versus on quest versus no more quests here. So if we get through any of this, we'll pass this one back. All right, so that's kind of the iteration logic there. That's the sequential quests. This is the get random request. So I'm just going to go ahead and say get potential fix. So this is the other way of getting a quest out of the non-repeatable list. And I'm just going to copy this. It's a little bit more work because we have to create a filtered list. So what we're going to do first, again, just like before, get the interface, check to make sure that this is all valid. If it is, we're good. If not, we'll come back with this message. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a local array of row handles, of table row handles, and these are the quests. Because this is what we want to pick from based on, but first we need to flush out based on criteria. So first we're going to say if this meets. So going into non-repeatable, we don't want to have quests that we've already completed in this list, and we don't want quests that we're already on. And again, I've also got this little thing here to say if we're, because this is just how I want mine to work. If we're already on it, we're just going to turn back and say, no, you can't get any quests until you've finished the quest I've already given you. And that's kind of what this does. But then if we are all good, then rather than with this one where we just go ahead and put the output result and send back, we're actually just going to add this to this array. And again, this is as long as we meet the dependency as well. So we're still checking the dependencies. So if we meet the dependency and it's added, then what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, we're going to get the size of the array, right? And then once we've got the size of the array, we're just going to do a fmath rand range between 0 and the number of array minus 1. And we'll then pull that row handle out of the array and pop it in there, and then we'll pass back a new quest. So we'll tell whatever's calling this that we have a new quest for it. Alright, so that's random quest, and then this is the random repeatable stuff. So this is coming out of a different list. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And I don't know why it... I don't know why I put it there. It needs to go here. Alright, so this is our random repeatable quest. So we're going to go ahead and check that real quick. Everything looks good. Alright, so for random repeatable, core questing interface, again, we're just going to do the same thing. This is just all, it's very similar to the random quest. The only difference is we're just going to come out of the repeating quests here. So it's the same kind of, same logic, just different list. So the same idea, and again, I've said so you can't take it from here. So that's all that does. Alright, so that should do it for getting a quest from our questing list. We need to add the error message and is valid handle, and of course Unreal Engine or Visual Studio is not exactly playing ball, so we'll just go ahead and create this manually. And while I'm here, I'm just going to go grab this one too. Alright, so we've got that. So here again, these are just two helper functions. The first one is just to make sure that I've got a valid, or the second one here, this is valid handle, so this just makes sure that this is okay and that there's no errors. And this one here is just, again, if I turn my debugging message on, that we can print something out to the screen. So that's that. Alright, so that should do it for all of our protected. So let's move on to our public. And all of these are blueprint callable down here. So let's go ahead and set this up. So get non-repeating quest. Just going to go ahead and do this, and I'm also going to just do this one too while we're here. Just grab these. Alright, so get non-repeating quests. This is just this is the public function, and all it does is it just brokers the result. Oh, let's just go do that real quick. And I'm just going to come back to here and just do that too, so we know what we're dealing with. So all this does is it just says it's just going to take a row handle in, and here's our actor, and it's just going to go ahead and try and find that information for us. So here's our get sequential, and then here's our get our random based on the enumerator. So again, just breaking things down into smaller and smaller chunks, so it's just easier to kind of read. And then the repeating quest, all I'm going to do is just that. It's just going to run this function, and we just pass this in, and it just pass back the the enumerator back. All right, so this is the has new non-repeatable quest. So this is again a useful function to do a quick check before we actually go ahead and run it. So all we're going to do here is we're just going to say take the actor and then hit the result, and then this is the get sequential quest. So all this does is it just goes and does a check for us, and then it returns a boolean, but it's not going to return this. So again, we're just reusing this function here, but we're not returning an output. We're not actually going to return the quest. We're just going to go ahead and say there's something here that you can technically get. Check for completed quests. So this is useful for, and check for active quests. So again, these are functions that are again useful for us to see if we have a completed or an active quest. And again, they work very similar, but all they're doing is get next quest ready to turn in. So we have this function here. And again, yeah, is on active quest again because we have a row handle and we could technically pull something back. That's why we're just going to dead end it, but we're just reusing functions for for these specific things. So here, this is just a boolean check, but we may be just checking for it to determine whether we want to dive deeper into the code. So that's all that does. Is on active quest. And then we have get next quest ready to turn in. So we've got these two. So I'm just going to go satisfy these. Come on. So is on active quest. So this is where all that logic really is. And again, I'm just going to go change this variable to that, and I'm going to come back here, do that there, do that there. Is there any other results? Nope. Just do that and that. All right, so for the is on active quest, again, get our host, check to make sure our host is valid. You know, I probably should just go ahead and do both. Gonna fix that there. Just make sure this is valid and just make sure that we have a that component has been created. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to run the data table again on the non-repeating, and then we'll check to see if we have an active quest in the log that matches. If we have a match, then we'll return this out with a true. If we're set to non, and then we'll also check the repeating quests as well. So this is non-repeating, so we're checking both to see if the quest that we're passing in, or actually we're just checking both. Where is it? Output. This is just checking to see if we actually have an active quest or not. So based on the data row name. So what we're going to do is we're just checking to see if if anything in one of our lists is in the active quest for. So we need to check both. We're going to check both lists, non-repeating and repeating. So we'll do the check here first. If we don't find anything there, then we'll check in the non-repeating, and if we don't find anything there, we'll return back false. i.e. we have no active quests. So then we're free to then take an active quest. So again, this is just another check for us if we want to do that. And then this is the get next quest ready to turn in. So this is going into our log to see if we actually have a quest that this quest giver can complete for us. So if we're not set to auto complete, then usually you're coming back to a quest giver, the person who gave you the quest, and they're going to then dispense the reward. So this kind of where this kind of comes into play. Get next quest ready to turn in. So again, it's going to check both of these to see if we have something in the complete list, right? And is complete. And so this is still active. It's just checking to see if this quest that we have in this list that is ready to be completed can turn in. So first we're going to check. And so first off, we want to exclude anything that we've already completed. So that's what this does. Again, the not statement. So that's what we're doing here. And I use not statements a lot, so just be careful if you're copying this code. There's a not statement, and there's a not statement. So it says take this statement and do the opposite. So get this. So if this is, so check here. So if it's not in this list, then we'll go to this list, and then we'll check to see if we can. And then this is going to check to see if it's active and that flag has been set. So again, this would be if I come into call quest object, and where is that flag? It should be. Actually, no, it's not in call quest object. It's in call quest state. So this is our struct. Call quest state. So what it's looking for is this one here. So this is what we set when we're actually ready to turn it in. So if we've made it through the quest state machine and everything's to the point where we want to exit out, this flag gets set, and so that's what that's looking for right there. And so that's what's going to turn back. If it's ready to hand in, we'll return this back out so that our quest giver can then go through the completion process for us of completing that quest. So that's kind of what that is. Alright, so after that we've got get all quests ready to turn in. So this is if we have multiples and we want to do a multi-search. So very similar. This is just, again, the host, and I'm just going to go update those if statements real quick. I just want to keep things consistent. I think consistency is a good thing. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and minimize this, minimize that. Alright, so again, so this is get next quest ready to turn in. We've already kind of gone over that. So this is the get all quests ready to turn in. So this is a little different. This one gets all of the rows back that we want to turn, that are ready to turn in. And again, so what we're doing, again, we're checking data against the quest giver to see if there are any quests that the quest giver and my quest log, the player's quest log, have in common and that are ready to turn in. And if there's a couple of them, we'll pass back the row. We'll pass back actually this array, right, of those, and whatever's receiving it, whatever the quest giving host is, they can then process that and do whatever they need to do with that. All right, so that is so that's our quest giver ready to turn in all. So we have two more quests, and this one is just a utility. Again, it works with my dialog system, and then this one is the meet dependencies. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix these two real quick. So again, this is very unique. I'm just going to include it. But if you've got support for a dialog system, which is similar to mine, you could use this. This is, again, checking to make sure we're valid. We're going to check to make sure we have a valid host. We're going to also check to make sure that we have a valid row. And then from here, get quest log, host, get quest log. I'm actually, oh, no. That takes care of that for me right there. So here's the interface. So it just goes ahead and just checks to get the active quest and then gets the stage ID if there's a stage ID. Otherwise, if there's no stages yet, it hasn't been initialized, then we'll just get the orator row straight from the row. So again, if this is a new quest, we'll take it straight from the row, where we want to start in the topic and the starting position. Otherwise, if we're in the middle of a quest, we can then take it from the stage if we have specific dialogue for each stage. When we come back to the quest giver. All right, so that is that one, and then meets dependencies. So this is our dependency system. So here again, just validating the handle that's coming in, and then from here we're just going to go ahead and get a row. Then we're checking the is rules passed. So because we can have multiple rules on here, we need to validate each rule, and then so what we need to make sure is if each rule passes, we're just going to increment the counter, and if the counter equals the number of dependencies, hey, we win. If it doesn't, that means we didn't pass a rule, which means that this quest, if we're using this, doesn't, cannot be handed back, cannot be considered to be handed to the player. So again, check the rule, go into the dependency, go into our quest dependencies, and this is where our dependency here, and this is where we have the validation rule. So we have the struct, so we're taking this struct, a copy of, well, actually by reference, we're taking this, and then we just run the validation code, which is actually in the struct, right? And then that validation, if it's valid, it comes back true and will increment. If it's not valid, we just pass over it, right? And we leave this as 0. And then we'll then say the number of passing rules has to be greater than or equal to, it should just be equal to the number of quest dependency numbers. And if it is true, we say, okay, this quest meets the dependency criteria, you're free to add it into consideration. Otherwise, if it doesn't, we would pass false, and you can't hand out this quest based on the dependencies. So that's just kind of how that works. All right, so now that we've gone ahead and created our basic quest giver, we should go ahead and integrate this. I'm going to go ahead and integrate this into the character class for testing purposes, so we can go ahead, and since that's kind of where we're putting all of this stuff. But again, this component, since it's a component, you can add it to whatever actors you want to interact with and get a quest from. And it's a framework that you can then take and extend and customize and build on top of. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and let's see if we can find our core quest live character. All right, so there it is. I'm just going to go close that real quick. So here's our core quest live character. So this is the code that was generated for us by Unreal Engine. And so here, I'm just going to add a new property down here. And this property is going to be for our quest giver. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this. I'm going to put that there. So it's a new property, visible anywhere, blueprint read only, and let's go ahead and put our pointer reference. So I'm just going to call it quest giver. Yeah, there's a lot of red squigglies here. And then under here we have the core quest logger component. So again, I'm just going to put my prefix or my descriptor so that it satisfies the compiler. There shouldn't be anything else here that I need because I'm going to be doing everything else in the implementation file. So I'm going to switch over to the implementation file. And in the implementation file for this, this is quest log component. We don't want this. We want the implementation file for our character. So here, I'm just going to open up the constructor. So this is where it's been creating all the stuff in the construction. So under here, I'm just going to go ahead and add the constructor code for that. So I'm just going to go copy and paste that there. And we need to add the include for our quest giver up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to hit include. And here I'm just going to say core. We'll just use the public questing core quest giver component, and that's what I'm just going to add there, and that should take care of everything. So for our quest log, because we've got the quest log reference in the interface, that satisfies everything here. We technically don't necessarily need this, but we're just going to put that anyway. But because we're using the quest giver component and it's not referenced up in anything up here, we've got the definition here for the compiler. So we're just going to put the public include here in the implementation, and that should satisfy this guy here. So there's our quest giver, and it's publicly available. So we should be able to compile this, and we should see this quest giver show up in the blueprints, so that we can take advantage of those functions. All right, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so let's go over to our solution. I'm just going to come back to our little compile button here, fire that off. Hopefully we'll get a good compile, no errors. Yep, good compile. All right, so if we go into our blueprints and go to our third-person character, we should see a new component, and there it is. There's our quest giver. So again, this is just some functions that can help us kind of feed quests in. So let's go ahead and try and set that up real quick. All right, so this is our progress. I'm just going to go and remove that real quick. So originally we just went ahead and hit the 1 key, and it just went ahead and said add, 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 add. So we're going to change this so that we can just go ahead and use the quest giver system to feed that for us. So first off, let's go ahead and click on the quest giver component. So within the quest giver components, we have the type, we have debug. I'm just going to keep that off. Good. We're going to set this to sequential. And under the core quest giver component here, we've got our 2 arrays. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and feed it, and we'll feed it 4 quests. Why not? 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, these quests are just row handles, so we can pick from whatever, we can get these from whatever quest tables we want. So I'm just using everything off pre-made quest tables, since that's what we imported. So it's quest 1, but as you can see here, we could technically have a quest on there if there was one, and the system wouldn't care. There's 3, and then this is the time quest, which is on 4. And that sets that up. So there we are, quest 1, quest 2, quest 3, quest 4, and it's just as easy as setting it up within whatever your quest giving host is. So that's kind of how I'm setting up for now. Maybe later I'll change this, make it a little bit easier, but for now that's how you have to do it. And then if you wanted to do repeatable quests, it would be the same as just doing into this list instead. So you could go off here, and if that's what you want to do. Hit compile, hit save. All right, so then let's make this a little bit bigger so let's see what we're doing. And bring this in a bit. All right, so we don't need this anymore, so I'm just going to remove that. I'm just going to drag over our quest giver, and all we need to do is we just need to say get should be something like get Get non-repeating quest. There it is. So this is the non-repeating quest that we want. And so what this is going to do is it's going to go in there, and so the actor, this is going to be self, since this is the... So if this was another actor that you're interacting with, then this would be the character. This would actually be your third-person character, but since we're calling it from within, we're just going to call it there as in self. I'm just going to put this. So what this is going to do is it's actually going to go in there. It's going to check my quest logs, and it's going to return a quest. So what we're going to do is here we're going to put this. I'm going to run an equals. Actually, not that one. I want to run the other equals. So if we have a new quest found, then we can then branch this. And then on us, what we'll do is we'll then say this one is going to be I want the log, don't I? Get quest log. Add new quest. That's all we're going to do there. And the quest we're going to add is that there. So this is an out result, so that's why it's on this side, and so we're just going to take that and pass that to there. So this will go in, it'll get the first quest, it'll feed it in, and then our questing log will take it over and do what it needs to do. And then once that quest is done, we'll go on to the next quest. So if it's an autocomplete, not a problem, but if it's something we need to hand in, we better. I'm just going to create a debug key. I'm going to put this on debug 9, since I think this one that's available. Saving and loading is on 7 and 8. So we need to save and load it. We can see that in action too. So I'm just going to hit save. And then for this one, again, we're just going to get the quest giver, and we can just go ahead and say get next quest ready to turn in. So this is going to go into the log, and it will find the next quest that's ready to turn in that is in the context of the quest giver. So again, it's going to check to see if any of these quests here are in the active log with the flag turned on to say turn it in. And that's all that one is. And again, if we do, I'm just going to go hit the branch key, and we can just pop that in there. And then if we do have a quest that is ready to turn in, then we just need to say update player rewards. So this is where we actually do the turning in part and completing. So again, this function is on the controller and it's here, but this function on the character is then referencing the one on the controller, so with the exception of the inventory. So because I don't have any inventory rewards, I'm just going to say promote to variable and just keep it empty just to satisfy the arguments. Alright, so then the quest that we need to turn in, all we need to do is take this and break it, and all I need is just the row name, and we'll go ahead and find everything based on that. And we can do another branch. And if that's done, then we can say I'm just going to do a print string for now, and this is in, this is turned in. All right, so that should be everything we need to kind of add quest, and this is everything to turn it in. But we can also add I'm also going to add some keys to kind of accelerate some of these other quests that we have, so we can kind of show some progression going here. So what I'm going to do is so the first quest, that's pretty simple. It's going to go ahead and check to see what's in our inventory. It's going to then that's what it's going to fire this. We'll update the inventory. If it's autocomplete, not a problem. If it's not autocomplete, we just have to hit this and we should be able to turn it in. And then once that happens, we can then go back to the quest giver, hit this, and it will say, okay, well, quest 1's done, now you're ready for quest 2. So if we go to quest 2, then that's a little bit more involved. So I'm just going to go debug key. Let's go. I'm going to put this on debug 2. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to come back to our quest giver, and I'm going to set, instead of 3, I'm going to set that to 4, and I'm going to make this. The reason why I'm going to set this one to 4, because it's an autocomplete, and this is the timed quest test. This one is the branch quest, so I'm going to just put this at the end. That way there's nothing hanging anything up there. So we should be able to get quest 1, quest 2, and we should also see quest 4, and then go to quest 3. And again, if we do sequential, which is what we're doing, it will go in that order, providing there's no dependencies getting in the way. All right, so here, this is actually pretty easy, again, because we're using the interface. Update quest objectives, and that's all we need to do to kind of move quests forward. So again, this can be done because it's on the interface. If we have a character, we would just call, if this was in another actor, we'd just say cast self to the interface, or cast the player to the interface, get the interface, and then run this off the interface. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and bring over the objective ID. That's that, and I'm going to just set the quantity to 1, since the location is usually a single. And also this one is going to be also set, so we've got to kill Roger the Shrubber. So I'm just going to go grab this. So Roger the Shrubber's objective ID should be that. Oops. Let's make sure this copies and pastes. And there's only one Roger the Shrubber that we need to kill. So that's all we need to do there. And then we need to get so now what we're going to do is and then on 3 we've got 2 options here. We could either save Bob or accidentally let Bob die. I think on this one I said accidentally let Bob die, to kind of show that you can, you went to a passing state off this one, but then I want to show that you could then go back to the failing state, the same failing stage, if you had an oopsie trying to get Bob to where you're supposed to go. So again, and that's the nice thing about how using a state machine versus a sequential array, is that we can change that state to go, if we're on one path and then suddenly we have an issue, we don't have to worry about duplicating. We could just move it to the other path, or the other branch in that stage system rather easily, and move back if we wanted to. So you could have interplay between those branches, depending on the result you wanted. So for this one, again, I'm going to put debug key 3. And on this one again, I'm just going to copy this and paste it into here. So this is for Bob the Baker, and that's 1. There's only one Bob the Baker. So what happens here is if this subjective ID goes in, this is set to the failing quest. So let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. So what I did was I imported these quests in from JSON. So here's the quest that we're kind of reproducing. So again, stage 1. So the first part of this here, so this is stage 1. So in stage 1, what we're going to do is if I hit, when I hit the 2 key, we're going to, send in the location ID, which is location X. So this is the objective ID here, and the quantity amount, and that will, say, okay, this one's now passing. And we're also going to say, kill Roger the Shrubber. Okay. So this one is now passing. Now, if we were to pass in this one on the same one, right, if I was to pass this in before I killed him, then it would be a failure. But once I kill him, we'll automatically move to the next stage, right? So, and then this objective here is set to get him back safely still. So we could still technically fail when we go to the next stage, and that's what's going to be simulated out here. So instead, I've got get to location Y, which we're not going to get to, and that's set to passing, but this one is actually set to fail, and that's why we're putting in Bob the Baker. So if that fails, we have an oopsie. And if we fail, we'll then go, instead it will go from this back to here. So we don't have to worry about duplicating this because we're branching out. Instead, we just move to we just treat each stage as a state. So we'll just move to the fail state and go down that tree. All right. So, and then finally, we need to talk to Bob, so I'm just going to go ahead and say Jerry, debug key 4. So there's our debug key 4. So if that's the case, then I'm just going to copy this, paste it here, and again, just running the update function. So again, updating our system is just really easy. It's just updating that with the ID that we need. So that should cover quest 2. And then quest 3, since we're quest 4, right, which is going to be the third one in the series, that's an autocomplete. And then if I hit again, we'll go to quest 4. And then this is, again, with this one, we still need to hand it in, so we'll just run this, and then this should play the logic out to hand it in. All right, so now we should be ready to kind of see this in action. If everything's wired up correctly and the quest giver's set, we should be able to feed it in and see these things being, seeing the questing engine processing it. All right. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and move this off screen, and let's see what happens real quick. So I'm going to hit the 1 key. Nope, actually, let's fire this up first. Then let's hit the 1 key. All right, there it is. It's in progress. Hit the L key. There's our tracker. We can then track it. Hit the L key. And then if I hit the 9 key, this looks like we have a little bug here. Let me just stop this real quick and bring this back. So we hit the 9 key. There it is. So yeah, so this needs to be the actor where the quest log is. I forgot to put that in there. So what this is doing, it needs access to the quest log. It doesn't know where it is. So if I put the self onto that, then it should know where the quest log is. So that should fix that real quick. So I'm just going to compile it, hit save, and let's bring this back over off screen. Let's fire this back up again. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to hit the 1 key. There it is. There's our progression. I'm going to hit the L key. There it is. Looks good. hit track, and then I'm going to hit the 9 key, and as you can see the tracker turned off because we turned it in, so the turn in showed up. I'm going to hit again, quest 2 is in progress. Let's go to the L key. I got a little bug here. That works, but it looks like we're holding on to some data. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to stop this real quick, see if we can fix that bug as well. So it becomes the quest log. I think the best way to solve this, so what's happening is that we're not emptying this out when we run the destruct. So we're still holding on to this variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, we're just going to set this to empty, which should then, once that's null, that's null. Alright, so that's the quest log. And this is in our quest log widget. Let's make this a little smaller real quick. Alright, so let's try this again. Alright, so gonna hit the 1 key. Quest giver is gonna give us quest 1. There it is. Gonna hit track. As you can see, 5-5. You know, we didn't do any of the bonus, so it's okay. And so I'm gonna hand it in, and we've got the little turn-in notice. I'm gonna hit the 1 key again, and there we are. Quest 2 comes in, and there it is. Yeah, since this is the next quest, I'm going to hit the track key. So we've got go to location X. So let's go ahead and hit the 2 key. So run that progression. As you can see, a little progression widget's kind of passing all that information out. Okay, testing. So this is just my notes. Take Bob to location. These are the objectives. So objective 1, this, and we didn't let Bob die. So hey, all 3 done. So I'm just going to say L. I'm going to hit the 3 key to keep moving this objective. Oh, whoops, Bob died. We accidentally killed Bob. So I'm going to come here. Keep Bob safe. Technically that should be a 0 of 1. So I got a little thing there which we probably need to update and fix. But technically, and then this is now going into the next stage, which is stage 2, which is the bad news for Jerry. So we just moved over from the passing back to the failing. So I'm going to hit the 3 key, 4 key actually. And then this is bad news for Jerry. And then there it is. Bad news for Jerry. We've met Jerry, we've talked to Jerry, we've got that done. I can hit the track or take the track key off. And then I can hit the 9 key and it's turned in. And then finally, I'm just going to go ahead and get the timed quest done. So as soon as I hit that, the time's off and message is up. And this is the autocomplete, so it should autocomplete it. There it is, autocomplete, passed, quest passed. So I should be able to get the next quest, which is the branching quest. There it is. And if I go in a log, there it is for that. Alright, so it looks like everything's working. We could take a look at the save and loading as well, since we didn't really play with that much. So let me run this again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the 1 key, let it do its thing. I'm going to hit that to turn it in. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the 2 key. Now I'm going to hit the 1 key again. So that's in progress. So as you can see here, we've got this is the first stage here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the 7 key, which is going to save it. I'm going to hit the 2 key, which is going to go and run that real quick. So now we're on that stage, and then I'm going to hit the 3 key, which is going to then move it further. So we want to go to bad news. Deliver the bad news. And then what I'm going to do, so I'm going to hit the 8 key, which should reset us back to the beginning again. So if I hit the 8 key, I hit the log. Yep, there it is. We're back to where we started, which is the first stage again. All right, so saving and loading's good, and that's all good. So we've got a quest giver component, we have our saving and loading, and we test the flows. All right, so that's almost everything. So in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a UI component onto the quest giver so that we can have that nice little pop-up. So again, this is just the basic quest giver system. So what I'm going to then do in the 8th and final video is actually create a UI version of that, so we've got something that we can interact with a little bit more when it comes to accepting quests and handing them in. All right, so again, if you like what I'm doing, feel free to, as always, like and share my videos, as well as subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions for me, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as I can. And again, yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, and have a good day.